first review. As a lot of you know, I've got a lot of spare time on my hands, and I'm starting to get a little bit bored, so I thought I'd share some of my wisdom, and I use that in some seriously inverted commas, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of the cars and things I've had over more recent years, the ones that are fresh in the memory, and a little bit of a review on my experience. There's a whole lot of reviews on the interwebs going into heaps of detail, far more detail than I could ever hope to, or could be probably either bothered or interested in doing, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, I thought I'd keep them short and sweet. I'll give a little bit of overview as to why I brought what I brought, why I sold it, and a few great things about it, and a few grim things where relevant. So this being the first review, I thought I'd start off at the top of the pile and review a car that I brought a couple of years ago. This was not long after I kind of got sick initially, and several months previously we'd gone back down to one car. Weren't too sure what the future may or may not hold. So, long story short, I ended up getting a job at a previous employer in a call centre, and it was shift work, so needed something reliable that I could get to work, rather than have to rely on public transport. That wasn't really an easy option, and I've long held a bit of an allergy to public transport anyway. Call me a snob if you like. So yeah, so the main brief for me in terms of buying a car, it didn't have to be fun, didn't have to be fast, didn't have to be anything in particular. It had to be cheap. I didn't really want to spend any more than the necessary, ideally a few grand, and it had to be reliable. And as much as it's a bit of a meme, what did I do? I spent, I think, about $1,800 on a good old Toyota Camry. It was a 2000 3-litre V6 automatic. It had had a reasonably decent lifetime. It had done 260,000 odd Ks by the time I got it, maybe 240, 260, 200 and plenty. Paint was faded, interior was a bit average, but everything worked with the exception of the heater, which was something I ended up fixing. I got a hold of a second-hand one once we got in towards winter, because obviously that was the point at which it became important. So yeah, so I did the cliche, bought the Camry, needed a cheap car, had it for about, I think, 18 months, spent a couple of $100 on getting the heater unit replaced, gave it an oil change while I had it. That was it. Pretty much as per the cliche. So, three great things about it. It was reliable, obviously. Reverse said cliche. It was logical in terms of driving and controlling it. Everything's pretty basic. It's where you think it should be. You know, obviously it's the day before multimedia kind of became a thing, and touchscreens, and there's not a whole lot of electronic stuff. They're pretty bloody simple. And it was boring, which, you know, for a lot of people, in terms of their cars, that's a really good thing. So what was grim about it? Well, I guess the big thing for me was it was so bloody boring. Even driving it, it's easier than a bus, but not a whole lot more exciting. It's point, aim, put your foot down, and you go. So it's the most boring car I've owned since I had and drove a brand new 1999 Toyota Camry. Ironically, when I was working for these guys back in the day. Practical, cheap to run, easy to fix for people that can fix stuff themselves, and relatively cheap for those of us who have to pay someone else to do it. Parts are a dime a dozen. But yeah, just so boring. I think I left the job, diagnosis changed a bit, and ended up getting rid of it so that I could get something slightly less boring, but more on that in another review. So yeah, the year 2000 Toyota Camry. If you need simple, basic, functional, reliable, boring transport with a complete lack of any personality, then it could well be the car for you. But it wasn't really the car for me. So yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Don't go back, we'll be right away. You know what?